I was talking to my brother, Bishop Andrew Kakai, and amazingly, our father walks in, and he's impressed and interested in what we are talking about. I was showing him on the phone. So today we're looking at our journey and how we have progressed on over the years. From the year 2001 in October, when we started the Fountain of Joy Church, because that was our identity then. As it is with every pastor, when you begin off a ministry, one of the things that you look forward to is the growth of the church and the growth of the church family, the people coming. You look forward to people coming in, attending church services and having a great opportunity and time as you speak the word, as you teach, and as you lead the church of believers. You all look forward to a time when the church is growing. Our journey was a bit very interesting because from the start of the then Fountain of Joy in 2001, it took us 2 years with having 3 members, which means that the growth wasn't very impressive. It was a tough journey, a very difficult season of the church at that particular time. I pastored 3 people. It wasn't easy at all. You can imagine in Nairobi, more particularly in Dandora, where I am pastoring people and the church is not growing, people are not coming in, there is no offering, the struggles are many, and it was just very frustrating. A number of times I thought of quitting and just let it go because it's not growing. In fact, one of the 3 looked at me in the face and he told me, this thing is not going anywhere. He left, and so I was left with a church of 2 people. It was not an easy experience. We struggled, we kept pushing, we kept moving, we kept laboring. We got to a stage where now we need to leave the rooftop of the then venue of our worship into some favorable place where we can hold the fellowship. It wasn't very easy to make that transition because again, you need resources to pay for the venue, equipment, chairs, you need a few other things to set up that kind of work. Owing to the fact that there are no people and there is no money, it just becomes a pipe dream which you are dreaming of. One day we will move, one day we will move, but we never got to move. I decided that we bring this church to the house where I had rented. Remember that this house wasn't paid for a period of 8 months. I stayed in this house for free for 8 months. How? I don't know, but God, in His own ways and miracles, I was able to stay and put up in this house for 8 months without paying a penny. That is the same place and in the same house that we set this fellowship of our 3 people into this house where I was staying, where we started now meeting every Sunday morning for a fellowship, to pray together and to teach the Word of God in that small house. It went on for a while, and then again we opted to look for a different venue. So basically we moved from one place to another. As it is with many church fellowships, every time you move a church from one location to another, you lose people. And I lost many people in the process of trying to build. You know, you have built the work from 3 to around 8, and then you move the church to a different venue, and you lose 3 out of 5, you lose 5 out of 8. We kept losing people who were less interested in where we have moved into, even though it's not about the distance. Sometimes people just get tired of a church that is not growing. It's very interesting that if you are in ministry, sometimes you labor, people come, you preach, you win souls, people come, but there is a level of success and progression and growth that is not very enticing, because you are doing ministry and after 1 year of serving and laboring, you get an addition of 1 or 2 people, and people are not interested in what you're doing. It was very frustrating at that particular time. We felt like this thing is still not working. Many times we thought we should just stop it and call it quits, do some other things, do business. At that particular time, my wife had to find a job with a certain company at the airport. She went, reported, and started working. At least we now have some level of income in the family. It was not very easy to try and put food on the table. Resources are not coming in and the church is not growing. the struggle continued. What do you do with a church that is not growing? What do you do when people are not coming in? What do you do when you are doing the best and the outcome is frustrating? It looked like we keep holding on, but under very difficult circumstances, until such a time when now in 2004, we decided to do an outdoor event, which was evangelism in nature. We wanted to reach out to the community and win souls. And so we put together a meeting and invited a few friends to come. Some people traveled in from Kimilili, some people traveled in from Eldoret to just come and give us the backing and the support we need to be able to gain ground in Dandora and to be able to keep this work going instead of us closing it all together. In this one very special event, this was a very special crusade and evangelism week, we had an amazing outcome. In 4 days, we were able to win 150 souls to Christ. An amazing thing is that some of the people who got saved in this ministry in the year 2004 during our very first outdoor meeting are still with us today. It's such a blessing to do outreach, to go out and win souls. Because many times, churches grow by people migrating from one church to another. And so you may think it is growing, but actually people are migrating. But then for us, we have done one major event in 2004 in April, and 150 souls came to Christ. 40% of those who came to Christ in 2004 are still with us until today. They are perhaps some of the oldest members in the church and some of the potential people that have worked with us and supported what we do and believed so much in our ministry. We have seen tremendous growth from that time as we had started rolling out and winning souls. We did another outreach program in 2004, August, that again, I could not clearly quantify the number of persons that got saved, but we still got many souls come to Christ. At that particular time now, the venue of our church has again to move. So you're moving the church from one place to another. We have moved from residential plots. We have moved to schools, small halls. I remember one time we rented a place that we were bordered with a club. We don't have a sound system, but the club has a sound system. And they are playing their music. You can imagine now, you're trying to preach on Sunday. You have to negotiate with the club owners and tell them, please lower the volume so that we can have church for 2 hours. They listen to you and lower the volume, but while you are in the middle of the service, they switch on their full blast volume. It was very frustrating. In the middle of a service, they flare the music full blast. Sometimes people are listening to the word of God, but then they are also nodding their heads in agreement with the rhythm of the music that is coming from the club. And some of my sons in the faith will identify with this when I say that, because those who were there were victims of that. Because I'm teaching, I don't have a sound system, but there's a club with a huge sound system next door and their music is full blast. We are struggling to even communicate with the people. You're saying, praise the Lord, church, and people are just looking at you because the music coming from the neighbor is just too confusing. So it was such a terrible experience of doing ministry. And remember, this is not a village ministry. This is ministry in the city where you're trying to build a work under very difficult circumstances. We stayed there for some time, and then again we had to move to a totally different location. In our new venue, it was even worse than the previous one. We now went into a different place, hired a hall, but then in this new venue, we were bordering a church that was a Corino in nature. And you know what they did was they were positioning their horn speaker facing right into our church. The struggle was trying to convince their Corino people to turn the horn speaker the other way, but they seemed to be enjoying frustrating us, because again, it turned out to be like a war between us and them. They never listened to us. It was chaotic. One time, we had one of the members of the church who was getting married and needed a blessing from the church. So we gathered that Sunday and pronounced the blessing upon him. But in that service, one of our members came to church with their landlord. It is around that time that now we were able to converse with this man who was the landlord then to one of our members. And he talked to us about how he can solve our problem. And so he says he has a piece of land, a property, a plot, which we can use for a church. we quickly swung into action, went and looked at the plot. We were convinced that this is the right place to be along the highway. While talking about it, he talked to his children, and one of his sons decided that he will build the church structure for us, and then we will just enter and pay rent. So that was a very supernatural miracle for me, because we have suffered and struggled all this time trying to find a venue where we can do church. Then suddenly comes a man, he is not even born again, attending a wedding. He talks to his son. The son agrees that he will build a church structure for us. That was actually our very first structure to experience as Fountain of Joy. So he builds the structure for us. We moved in, and we were just paying rent. This, we are talking about a period of around 2006, thereabout. We have a new structure built by someone who is not even known to us. We were just paying rent. In 2006, we were paying 2,000 shillings to that structure. Beautiful thing is that he never wanted money monthly, so we raised money. At the end of the year, we pay. Then we go again through 1 year, and then we pay. We did that up to 2013. Up to 2013, we were in the same place. We expanded the church 3 times on the same property. We experienced tremendous growth. God sent us people. People got born again. People came to church, and the numbers increased from 8-10 people to about 100 people. And that was an amazing journey along the highway, a place known as Wamalembe. We were there from 2006 up to around 2013. So in 2013, that is when he said to us that he wants to develop the property. Having hosted us for a number of years, we felt like we may need to move. So in 2013, we moved out of that premise and went and hired a different hall where we took about 10 months or so. And then from there, we felt the need now to own a piece of property. We began the journey to own a piece of property, because now we are tired of moving from place to place with a congregation of about 100 people. Every time you move to a different location, you have to lose people. And pastors understand that experience, because people, even if you move across the road, some people will say our church has moved. They will not come. It's a good excuse not to come. And it's just opposite the road. You can see the church, but you don't want to go there. We decided that we need to develop some level of permanency where we have our own property. And so we started raising funds. It was difficult to even raise funds to buy a piece of property. In a nutshell, what we did in 2013 towards the end of the year is that we opted to borrow money from 2 individuals. One is a son in the ministry. Another one was a friend. We borrowed money, and we were able to secure a piece of land which we paid for in cash. It was a swampy area. That is actually the current venue of our church. We bought 2 plots adjacent to each other. We put up a structure for a church, and we did a utility building. We felt relieved, because then we don't have the struggles of renting a place. We have developed a certain level of ownership and have a home for the church where people can come without much struggle. And so we have been on this property from the year 2014 up until today, but still as Fountain of Joy from the start of this new property. On this new property, we have occupied. Remember, we have borrowed money to buy the piece of land. And so we have to start the journey of paying the land. But even before we build the structure, God's miraculous provision was experienced on this new property right before we constructed. We decided, because one of the challenges we had is that where we were renting before we moved, the landlord increased our rent from 10,000 to 30,000, because now he believes we have money we can pay. But then we decided we will not honor that increase. So we decided to move, because we had bought a property but had not built anything yet. And so we moved. I remember telling the church that everybody will come with an umbrella on Sunday morning to our new location. It's our property, but we don't have a structure there. God, in his wisdom, touches a man in Juja to be bringing us a tent every Sunday morning. He pitches the tent at 6 in the morning, and he comes for his tent at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. That was a miracle in itself. This brother was going to a different church, but he kept supporting us. And you know, we are on a new location. We're not paying rent. We're not asking people to collect money for rent. So the church again is on the growth path, increasing in number, and people are happy to see a tent in a new location. They are coming to attend church. We exceeded one tent. We added a second tent. And all this brother was asking for was transport for his tent to Juja and back the following Sunday. So we enjoyed a special blessing from this brother who was very generous to us and to the work of God that we were doing. So he sustained us on this property without a structure for a period of 7 months without charging us anything extra. Just transport for the tent to Juja and bringing it back the following Sunday. And it was such an amazing blessing seeing the church rise and grow up to a time now. Towards the end of the year 2014 is when we gathered again and raised funds to be able to put up a structure. We got some money. I remember one of those Sundays when we had collected some money and he had an event, so he didn't come with the tent on Sunday. We decided that we have fabricated the building, but we don't have the sheets on top. So we went for this huge polythene paper and just found a way of covering at the center of the fabricated house, and we sat in the middle enjoying some shade. When it moves, we move, and we kept changing positions until we had a service done. The following day, God came, and we had that was on a Monday. God came. I remember showing someone the picture of our Sunday service in a structure that is incomplete. While at that table, we were just discussing and having a good time about the structure and what happened. I was talking to my brother, Bishop Andrew Kakai, and amazingly, our father walks in and he's impressed and interested in what we are talking about. I was showing him on the phone. So bending my head towards him, I'm showing him the pictures of the service and a polythene paper. And amazingly, my father develops interest in seeing these photos. Then immediately he says, "What is this?" I said, "This is our church. We have fabricated, but we don't have sheets. So we gathered under this roof without any sheets. We put polythene." Immediately, he reached out in his pocket and he gave me 100,000 Kenya shillings. And he said, "Cover that church. I don't want to see that again." And it was such a slap. Immediately, I called the fundi. I said, "Come to town quickly because I want you to go and cover the church." He came and we were able to get about 3/4 of the sheets to cover the church hall that we have enjoyed from 2014 until today. The amazing journey continues and the growth is on and numbers are increasing bit by bit, steadily. One major characteristic and quality about our ministry is that we have been very loud and keen on discipleship. It's a very major pillar in our journey as a church and as a ministry. We believe in 4 main things. Number 1, evangelism. We believe that people must be born again. We go out, we win souls, and lead them to Christ. After salvation, we believe in discipleship. We believe in mentoring people, discipling people, bringing them into the image of Christ through our teaching and revealing Christ to them. And so that is very loud in our ministry. Everyone that comes to Peniel, as it is today, previously Fountain of Joy, as you come into this church, everyone knows and appreciates the fact that we are very loud and very strong on discipleship. We disciple people. We teach intentionally, try to form the nature of Christ in people's lives. Number 3, we also have a pillar which we labor towards is worship. Our main interest is raising worshipers, not just on the pulpit, but also on the pews. We believe that worship is not a department in church. Worship is the main ministry of the church. And so we are very loud and very pronounced on worship. That perhaps informs the reason why we still hold the worship experiences, which we currently call them the Peniel Worship Experience. It's been ongoing for many years. From the year 2009, we have held these worship experiences non-stop. And if we have to stop, it is for a special cause or reason. Otherwise, we come back again because we believe in worshipers, raising worshipers for God. And then our 4th pillar is that of leadership, whereby we raise people not just as members of the church. After we disciple people, we bring them to a place of leadership. So we teach what it takes to become a leader and how to raise men to function in church leadership. So we are also very keen on raising leaders. We have a school of ministry by the name of Owasol, Obed Wanjala School of Leadership, where we mentor leaders, raise men, develop people, develop their capacity, teach them, bring them to a personal development, grow them into the experience of the things of God, into serving in church, how to participate, how to plug into serving God in church, and enjoying being part of what God is doing in the local church. So those 4 are our main pillars, and we thank God for the grace to be able to accomplish all that over the years, even as we continue to grow the ministry. So the journey continues, and it's been an amazing one, to the glory of God.